The Midnight Menagerie, Chapter 4, The Hunter's Game. For a while, the only sound was breath, theirs and the house's. The lantern on the table fluttered, then steadied. The carriage clock ticked with the same patient stride it had always used to walk the family through their evenings. Somewhere in the basket, Penny the hen gave a small drowsy grumble and settled her feathers like a person fixing a blanket in their sleep. "Center," Shawn Sr. said softly. "We hold center." They had pulled close without being told. Amanda with one hand on Phoenix's shoulder, the other curled around the warm handle of a cup she didn't drink from. Wyatt braced against the front door, as if leaning could be a kind of latch. Stella and Hank at the line where wood met fog. Nemo crouched beside the lantern like a switch that could cut the room on or off. The fog pressed its face to the windows and smiled that smile it had learned to make without a mouth. A tapping started on the far pane. Not knuckles, more like a fingernail drawing a slow circle on the glass. "Game." The knot voice murmured from the direction of the creek. "We play." Nemo's ear twitched. "3 rounds," she said. "He favors 3s when he's feeling pleased with himself." "Rounds?" Wyatt said, trying to sound bored and landing on breathless. "Like a quiz show but with fewer prizes?" "Fear," Nemo said. "Confusion, temptation." "Neat," Wyatt muttered. "I hate it." The clock ticked. A minute passed. No one believed in minutes anymore. Round 1, fear. The house took a deep breath. It was the only way to describe the way the walls lifted and settled, the way the air drafted past ankles and across the back of necks. The lantern flame bent toward the back door, as if it had heard its name. The knocking came from the kitchen this time. 3 clean raps, polite as a neighbor, and Amanda felt something in her chest seize, because she knew that knock. It belonged to her sister on holiday mornings. It belonged to a mother when she still came by with rhubarb in spring. "Amanda," a voice called, clear as a bell, muffled by wood. "It's me!" Every part of Amanda knew that voice, and none of her believed it belonged to the night. She kept her eyes on Phoenix and said nothing. Her hand had gone cold around the cup. "Amanda?" The voice tried again. "Open up, love." "Not her," Nemo said, so low the word barely had fur. From the front window, another voice. "Wyatt," it called, light, laughing. "Did you fall asleep at the door, kid?" Wyatt grinned without meaning to. It was the voice of Uncle Troy, the only adult who could win at his own jokes and not make Wyatt hate him for it. 3 knocks, then something rude, Wyatt whispered to Amanda, using their old rule like a charm. He waited. 3 knocks came, 2 perfect, the timing just the tiniest shade mechanical. Then, "Open up, door goblin." Wyatt let out a breath. "He's learning," he said, and the grin died. A soft, thin sound rose at the back of the house. Not knocking. Crying. "Mom?" Phoenix whispered, his whole body turning toward the hallway before Amanda's hand found his shoulder and anchored him. The crying was small and high, the exact pitch of Phoenix himself when he was very little and nightmares had nails. Amanda set the cup down and knelt, bringing her face level with his. "Where are you?" "Here," he said, pressing her hand to his chest. "Then that sound can't be you." She closed her eyes. "Stella," she said without opening them, "is my child in this room?" Stella's answer came calm and firm. "Yes." "And Wyatt?" "Yes." "And my husband?" "Yes." "And the cat who thinks she's an ant?" Nemo's tail flipped once. "Present." Amanda opened her eyes. "Then anything else that wants me is going to have to want harder." The crying slowed. It shifted into something like a whine, and then a wheeze, and then it was only the kettle leaking a last ghost of steam. At the window, the fog smiled wider. From somewhere past the goat pen, a small voice bleated once sharp with fear, then cut short. It sounded like Poppy. The sound landed on the rug like a dropped plate. Phoenix's knuckles went white around the rim of the basket. "Poppy," he whispered, "we have to." "No," Hank said, not unkind. "That's a hook." The bleat came again, farther away. and then stopped altogether, as if the night had closed a door. Meemaw blinked, slow as a cat with a plan. "Round 1, she said. "He failed to scatter us. It will make him creative." Round 2, confusion. It began with the clock. Its tick stuttered, tick-tick, then ran fast, chasing its own tail, then slowed until it sounded like a person trying to remember a song they'd loved once and couldn't find the shape of. The hands jerked, returned, then rolled forward to a time that felt too late and not late enough. "Don't look," Meemaw said, not because the clock could hurt them, but because it wanted attention. "He feeds on the head. Starve him." Wyatt took that instruction too literally, stuck his tongue out of the clock, crossed his eyes, and then went very still, because his reflection in the lantern glass didn't copy him. It smiled when he didn't. It lifted its brows and dropped them. It made a face he had never made, mean, mocking, a cruel cartoon of his own grin. He said, eloquently. The reflection pressed a finger to its lips as if to hush him, and then mouthed the single word that he could hear anyway: "Run." He took a step backward. His own foot didn't move in the lantern. The back of his knees met the couch, and he sat down too fast. "Okay," he said lightly. "No more faces. Faces are canceled." Across the room, Shawn Jr. lifted the lantern, and the wall moved backward with it, as if the light had become a rope pulling the wound longer. The far corner stretched in, the shadows there chunking into odd angles, and for a breath he felt the floor tilt, as if the house had grown a second story under it, and the new stairs didn't agree with the old ones. He ground his heel into the board he'd known since he was 5, and the world remembered itself. The lantern steadied. The corner became a corner again. Amanda wiped its steam on the window with the side of her hand and saw a meadow where their yard should be. Sunlight, daisies, a blue dress that she had not owned since she was 19. She almost reached for the latch, because she wanted to step into that walk so badly her teeth ached. Then, in the bottom edge of the glass, she saw the creek's pale glow, like milk in dirty water, and knew the sun was a lie. She set her palm flat to the sash and held still until the daisies gave up pretending. Phoenix heard whispers where there weren't mouths, the chickens in the coop discussing how small they felt, the geese practicing bravery in a language of feathers. He closed his eyes and answered in his head, the way a child answers a storm. "Not yet," he told them. "Hold tight. We're still holding." The whisper steadied, like birds settling on a roost. The dogs paced with tiny, exact steps, as if walking on a boundary no one else could see. Stella's ears tracked things that never quite happened. The suggestion of a scrape, the ghost of a footfall. Hank's nostrils flared, testing the drafts. Every time the lantern dipped, he leaned forward, as if to butt the light back to its proper height with his big square head. The confusion grew teeth. The corridor to the bedroom seemed longer on the way back than it had on the way up. The ceiling lowered a foam's width, and then sprang back as if embarrassed. The rug shifted half an inch left on its own, and Phoenix tripped over nothing. He didn't cry. He grinned at Wyatt with a wobble and said, "Nice trick," and Wyatt gulped and nodded and said, "Thanks, I've been practicing." The clock spun again, 3 fast clicks, and then froze. The hands pointed to 11:58. Amanda looked up, felt the way the air changed around that number, and felt the tiny prickle at her scalp that came with the knowledge that this, too, was not an accident. 2 minutes, she whispered. "Not ours," Meemaw said. "His." "What does that?" Wyatt started. "It means if he keeps us here, the night is a room, and he has the only key," Meemaw said. "Morning is on the other side of a door. He has taken off its hinges." Wyatt swallowed. "Great." He flashed a grin at Phoenix so quick it hardly had time to be seen. "We'll make our own door." "Round 2, Meemaw murmured. He failed to make the house forget itself. "Feels like he got pretty close," Shawn Jr. said, not taking his eyes off the lantern. "He only gets close," Meemaw said. "It is his nature." Round 3, temptation. The night tried the old tricks first. Voices shaped like love, knocks with familiarity in the wrists. But the family had learned the taste of those and kept their teeth closed. Then the fog tried something new. It made promises. For Wyatt, it was a picture in the window of him standing on the porch in daylight, holding a wheel of fishing line in one hand and a slice of pie in the other, while a girl with a summer laugh said his name like it was worth something. He put his thumb and two fingers on the glass, and pressed until the Y hurt his nail beds. Not yet, he told it. Earn it. For Amanda, it was a kitchen with sunlight and no fear. Phoenix coloring dinosaurs at the table. Wyatt, pretending to hate the soup he'd asked for. Shawn Sr. saying the fence could wait till afternoon. She leaned her forehead against the cool pane, and let the longing go through her like a train, and out the other side. Later, she said. If we make later. For Shawn Jr., it was competence. The night offering to make him strong, if he would only step outside and put the lantern down. He tightened his grip until his knuckles glowed, and said, out loud, no deal. For Phoenix, it was simple. Poppy's bleed again, closed this time, with an edge of panic that wrapped around his heart and squeezed. He could almost feel the goat's nose in his palm, warm and damp. He took one step, just one, before Amanda's hand closed on his sleeve, and the goat's voice became his own, thrown back at him from 2 summers ago, a crying he had already done and fixed. Not yours, she said, and for the first time since the game began, he buried his face in her coat and shook once, like a small animal getting rain off. The fog pulled back a fraction and then surged. The window by the bookcase flexed. It was a small movement, a ripple across the glass like heat over a road in summer, then a deeper shift, as if the pane were remembering it had once been sand and could be water again if it wanted to. The reflection on the surface swam lantern. Faces, the neat line of herbs on the sill, and for a breath the family watching from the womb saw a second family watching from the reflection, and the two did not match. Step back, Shawn Sr. said. Now. They did. Mimo stayed. Her eyes were on the glass, her body small and hard. The ripple deepened into a bulge, as if something were pressing through from the other side, as if the window were not a window but a thin skin over a deeper dark. The bulge shaped itself, long fingers first, splaying against the pane from within the reflection, then a palm that was too broad and too thin at once. The glass moaned, a low, exhausted sound. Not the door, Nemo hissed. Not the door. Back, Stella said, teeth showing. Hank's bark detonated once, deep and certain, the sound of a verdict. The lantern flame pitched, but did not die. The hand pressed. The center of the glass lifted like a bubble. A web of faint cracks sprang out from a point that wasn't there. Salt, Amanda said, and was moving before the word ended. She scooped a pinch from the jar and flung it toward the window, sharp and glittering. A throw she had practiced her whole life without knowing it. The crystal struck the pane and sizzled, not literally, but the sound lived in their heads anyway. The hand paused. Nemo launched. Her body hit the glass with a sound like a small bell. She didn't use claws. She used weight and will. No, she said, all the kitten gone from the word. Stella and Hank struck next. 2 bodies slamming the baseboard with a force that turned furniture to percussion. The cracked web trembled. The bubble faltered. Shawn Jr. lifted the lantern and shoved its light into the ripple, as if light could be a broom. The pane shivered, then softened, then hardened again as if embarrassed, becoming glass with a rush like breath returning. The hand on the other side spasmed. For a ghastly second the fingers seemed to fold the wrong way, then drew back, leaving a smear of darkness that evaporated like breath on a mirror. The window lay still. The reflection matched them again. The ripple was gone. Everyone in the room had been breathing too quietly. Now they remembered, and the sound came back in a wave. Round 3, Meow panted, for once not bothering to be elegant. He failed to be invited. The clock did not tick. Its hands were still set at 11:58. The minute stretched thin as taffy. The silence around that number was louder than any chime. Amanda looked at it and felt fury settle where fear had been. He stopped the night from ending. Meemaw stared at the window as if daring it to try again. He stopped our night from ending, she corrected. Morning exists. We just can't reach it from here, so we reach it another way. Wyatt said, throat tight, grin quick and crooked. We don't wait for morning to come, we go find it. The fog outside shifted tone, as if the night had tilted its head in interest. From the yard came a quiet movement. Lanterns that had been pinched clean in the peach tree flickered once, not with flame but with a thin pale like reflected creek light. The glow gathered under the branches, a soft, sickly pulse. Shawn Sr. set his jaw. He looked at his family, and the look counted them the way he counted tools before a job, each one necessary, each one known. Then he looked at the tree. He's waiting there, Shawn Jr. said, not a question. Good, Shawn Sr. answered, surprising himself with the word. I'm tired of being waited for. Amanda nodded. We can hold him out, but we can't end this indoors. Meemaw's tail lashed once. If you go to him, he will be delighted. Then we will disappoint him, Stella said, with a smile that finally showed her teeth for the right reason. Hank's rumble became agreement. Phoenix swallowed and stood a little straighter.
We're a team, he said, the word's small but built right.
We stay together. Wyatt let out a breath and rolled his shoulders as if shrugging off a coat he didn't like. Buddy system, he said, and his eyes, bright and seared and trying, found Phoenix's. Don't let go, even if I tell 3 terrible jokes in a row. Oh no, Phoenix said, lip quirking. 3? Trilogy's test will, Wyatt said. The carriage clock did not move. The minute held, a thin bridge they could not cross. Time's not coming, Amanda said, and the line felt like a truth she'd been walking toward all night. She reached for the pouch at her neck and checked the knot, as if making sure the night hadn't learned to untie. We make it. Shawn Sr. lifted the lantern. Its flame rose as if pleased to have been asked. Outside, the fog drew back a fraction from the front step, like a host yielding space with a bow. The peach tree's low boughs rocked once with no wind, and the wrong glow under them brightened invitation and dare. Hold the house, Shawn Sr. told the room, meaning the walls, the salt, the small, fierce, ordinary things. Hold each other. Wyatt touched the door with the back of his head one last time. A gentle knock for luck. Phoenix slipped his hand into Amanda's and then into Wyatt's, until all 3 of them were a small chain. Stella and Hank took their places to lead. Meemaw leapt to Amanda's shoulder like a little black epaulet that meant rank. Shawn Sr. slid the chain. The latch lifted. Wait, Meemaw said. Every head turned. The cat looked at the clock, at the window, at the black curve of the lantern's shadow on the table. When she spoke, her voice was thinner than it had been, the midnight limit closing in around her words. He stopped time, she said. Morning won't come until we make it. Shawn Sr. nodded. Then we'll make it. He opened the door. Fog rolled its welcome across the threshold like a carpet someone had set on fire very slowly. The air was colder by degrees that counted. The glow by the peach tree breathed. The family stepped out together. Behind them, the lantern on the table burned steady. The clock held its false minute like a dare. Penny shifted in her basket and tucked her head back under her wing, as if to say that someone should sleep, if no one else would. On the porch, Wyatt glanced once at his own reflection in the dark glass of the window. It grinned back the way he grinned. No more, no less. Let's ruin his night, he said under his breath. Stella's ears flicked forward. Hank's shoulders bunched. Meemaw narrowed her eyes until they were slits of green fire. They moved down the steps into the yard, toward the tree that clinked its dead lanterns together like coins in a pocket, toward the creek that gleamed like a wound under gauze, toward the shape of a thing that had waited 5 years to be pleased. They moved not because the night allowed it, but because they decided, and the night, delighted, shifted to meet them. They would not let it choose the ground alone.